Live. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. Come on in. I'm Rhalyn, your host for today, and I'm so honored to be with you all here live. And today is a special conversation. We're going to be talking about a movie that specifically talks about neurodivergence. It's called Magnetosphere. It's a beautiful drama and comedy film that captures sensory experiences and also neurodivergence that most of the neurodivergent folks undiagnosed, misdiagnosed, late diagnosed folks can relate to. And I'm so excited to share this with you that I'm joined by the filmmaker, the director herself, Nicola Rose, behind the movie Magnetosphere. It's not yet out, by the way. And we're going to explore about the film's heart, the character, the creative process, and also what it means to be seen, to be heard, and to be held. But first things first, just a quick heads up and some house rules, just a little bit for all of those who are tuning in. This is a sensory, safe, respectful space, and so feel free to comment and ask questions, but please be kind. Um, Especially when we are discussing neurodivergent or queer experiences. And if there is anything that overwhelms you, feels overwhelming during the topic, during this talk, during this live, please take what you need. Take all the time you need. You can pause, you can come back later, simply listen quietly or watch the replay. If you see me or Nicola zoning out, looking somewhere up or down, having our steam bracelets or anything, touching our hair or staring in the air, just know that we are here. It's just that's how our brain settles in and process questions. And yeah, without further ado, I would like to invite Nicola first to greet our viewers and all of those who are tuning in. So, Nicola, the floor is yours.
Hi, everybody. And Rhalyn, thank you so much for organizing this, the live on Substack. And then later on, we're going to have another live on Instagram as well. So we'll be back with you. For today, as you're seeing this, this is the day before the movie that I wrote and directed. Magnetosphere drops on different video on demand streaming platforms. It's going to drop across regions over time. So it's going to drop in North America first. I wish it were worldwide, but this is especially for you North American listeners. It's going to drop in Canada, in the States, and in Mexico, but all over the different platforms. Amazon Prime, Apple TV, and about 9 others. And it'll kind of be there for a little while. And then, depending on demand from other regions to see it, that really helps us get it out faster in different countries because we can go back with that information to our distributor. And anyway, so forth. Did you want me to talk about the actual plot of the movie or just kind of introduce myself? Or, Rowland, what's
Um, So I just wanted them to hear your voice, to have a face on the name of Nicola Rose, and also if you can share, if you're comfortable to share a little bit of the plot of the movie before we dive in on some of the questions. We're going to cover some story settings, experiences, characters, and world building. But also, if you can share a little bit more, that will be so helpful for our viewers.
I think you've already done so much of this because truly, if these people go to your Substack and to your Instagram and see the gorgeous review that you said of this movie, I say said because it was like a live video review the last couple days, that would make anybody want to see it. And I was really honored and impressed by your viewing of it. So thank you again. Really blew me away. But anyway, so Magnetosphere is it's not just a movie for neurodivergent people, but I am not surprised to see it becoming popular in that space. It has to do with a neurodivergent 13-year-old girl named Maggie who has synesthesia and lives in Canada, and who is 13 years old. So she doesn't know, she isn't diagnosed, she doesn't know what synesthesia is. This is also taking place in the 90s, so neurodivergence is not looked at necessarily as neurodivergence and so forth. And neurospicy is like light years away, it's not a thing. Anyway, so here's this girl who is having this experience, and there are many kinds of synesthesia. Some feel very subtle, some feel very, I will get into that later perhaps, but hers is the kind that she feels very, very deeply, and it can affect her day in ways that are negative and ways that are positive. And I keep going off on tangents here because I feel I have to. And my first tangent is to say that all of the experiences she has in the movie are based on real experiences of real people who spoke to me generously, who agreed to be interviewed about their own synesthesia. So that is the plot of the movie is basically that she deals with typical adolescent things like falling in love for the first time, moving across the country, and she's dealing with this absolutely chaotic theater production that her father is directing. It's all pretty. Oh, she's getting bullied at school because neurodivergence. But the thing is, it's all through the lens of synesthesia. Like all of these things would be fairly mundane, except for the way that this particular character sees and feels things. And my goal, the I guess writer, but also as the director, was to put you inside her head as much as possible, and to for me, when I'm up there directing, I have to be each character as I go. And it's like something Amy Tan was saying in a book she wrote about. She was talking like about writing a novel and saying the thing is you have to like be each character. You have to be inside each. So, so there's a frou fancy ass description of what I do. Basically, I go on set and tell people do stuff, now stop doing stuff. That would be more.
I I I have to say that the first time I've watched the movie that you sent to me, it brought me to tears because finally somebody has spoken me and somebody has like went inside my head and like I can smell colors. And people will be like, "Hey, you smell colors?" I'm like, "You don't?" But 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 also the second time I've watched, I have seen other characters moving along, and it feels like I'm a millennial. So it felt like this was somewhat that was created and felt familiar. Felt familiar. Definitely.
It
I,
really so. And
yeah.
thanks. I'm just
And
in the chat right now, and I'm so sorry to cut you off. I don't want you to think I'm not listening to you. I'm
no
putting
worries.
to everybody who's interested. I just saw, I hope it comes out in Australia soon. We want to know that. Please email me at my email address to be on our mailing list.
Yes. Thank you so much, Nicola,
Sorry.
for
What about
jumping in and on for going on the messages and the comments because I can't do that. It's
okay,
not
I'm
easy for
monitoring.
me for monitoring. I tend to miss my sentence mid sentence, like my
Okay, I
thought process. Like
we were talking about film and I wanted to hear it. So I'm so
um
sorry. You were talking about how you smell colors and you just figured everybody else did. Because that's the thing with synesthesia. It's so like underrepresented because we don't know we have it. We don't know other people. So tell me more about your experience.
oh, okay, so before we jump in on my set of questions, I didn't know that I was able to smell colors until unless I was given a blue shirt and I was like, "Bleh, I don't like it. It tastes bitter." And then they were like, "What?" And I was like, "It tastes bitter. I don't like blue." But eventually, when I grew up, I started liking um different palettes of blue, so I say, like teal tastes appealing to me. um Neon green doesn't. But then at some point in my life I hated orange and I hated anything that has something to do with purple because it makes me feel like I want to gargle a Colgate or like a toothpaste. And also my choices of clothes will always be like that. And to come up with this kind, it was more like Well, I have shared it in my Substack that when I was young, I think it also has something to do with my middle child's experience, that my parents didn't had a chance to listen to me, and I was left of there's a lot of like abandonment or neglect that happened, because when you're a parent of three children rather, and then you're moving from places like what Maggie experiences, you kind of get like lost, and you can't give full attention to all of your children, or it has something to do with that. And so I never see my synesthesia, I never had a name on it when I was growing up as a misfortune, but it is something that I've always had. And so it makes me very selective with the things that I wear, the things that I would use, the things that I would like, the food that I eat, to the point that I'm very indecisive of the things. And I started becoming nonverbal, and it feels like what's wrong with me. And being a homeschool girl, I was like, I was like, of course I will be homeschooled. All of the queerness or the queer experiences that I have, at some point my parents didn't know how to figure it out. And I've come up with different kinds of reactions where I bite folks that they I was sent to speech therapy. It was I was labeled as a difficult child, but all the while I think it was just I processed things differently. My learnings, my coping mechanisms to learn are different from the way things are. And it's not easy. So I tend to feel too much like how Maggie feels, and I've never really gotten that. I also had some difficulty seeing my skill sets as skill sets. I thought I was just doing it out of boredom, but I didn't figure out that I love chess, I love puzzles, I love all of those things, and I felt like it was just given to me out of boredom. And I didn't know that not everyone can hold those kinds of things, and I tend to hyperfixate on a lot of things. Yeah, so those are the things until I went abroad, and I had an interest of becoming an early childhood educator and practitioner, specifically in Montessori. I had a chance to run a play school in Malaysia and get involved with different kinds of kids, observing their patterns in behavior, and I kind of like resonate of how they respond to me. And I never had a chance to to explain, but I was able to teach them, or to guide them rather, potty training, proper etiquettes, hygienes that were like a lost case for first time parents. And I think it also has something to do with my tribe. I came from Philippines. I came from mixed races. Basically, my mother has a strong bloodline coming from Spain, and I also have a strong Oriental blood coming from the tribe of Aita, or if you're no familiar of Filipinos, they're like the cousins of the Maori tribe, or the African tribe who migrated and traveled to Philippines. So we were like a mixed race. So basically mixed race. And this movie is like um is something that I've never seen represented in all of the movies that I've seen. Um, and because of that, I would really love to jump in with some of the questions if you're ready. And shall we begin?
Oh, yes. Do it. I want to ask you how you ended up in Germany, but we can talk about that off. Off.
I'm married to a German.
Oh,
To
okay.
make the story short, yes. So that's gonna be a part of another storytelling. But yes, to go back to
Okay.
to go back to
Philippines.
Magnetosphere,
Where are we? Okay. All right.
where talk about neurodivergent and the power of
Geographic.
our geographic. Yes. Um, I wanna go and start from the heart of it. Why did you set Magnetosphere in 1997? specifically during Comet Hellbop.
Right.
What made that moment
Go
in
ahead.
time? What made that moment in time feel right for Maggie?
Mhm.
Maggie's story. Maggie is the main character, by the way, of Magnetosphere.
Yes, it's Magnetosphere. And hopefully people can see the link to our website in the comments, which is where tomorrow you'll be able to go to see another link on the website that will say everywhere you can go stream it, but we won't have that link until
Not
tomorrow.
yet.
It's live. You will see that on Tuesday, July 22nd. Anyway, so 1997, we wanted to set it in the 90s simply because it was a recent enough era that I could just remember personally as I was writing it and as I was thinking of how to direct it. It was something that was fairly fresh in my own memory, but
Mhm.
also yes, there's the comet coming by at that time, and I think it was one of my producers who was looking for current events that could tie in, and, she sent me an article or a Wikipedia page and said, "Hey, this was happening at the time," and given the amount of reference to astronomy or tie-ins with astronomy that were happening in the story, by this time, it was already coming together that the stars and the magnetosphere and, all these things were part of we're going to be part of this film. And so the Hale-Bopp comet acting as a sort of bookend to the movie seemed like a really natural flow. And I did remember vaguely that in 1997 there was a comet that went by really close to Earth and won't come around again forever. And so I did my vague research on that, and we don't get deeply into the comet, but it seemed like the right moment. Furthermore, originally I wasn't like thinking that precisely, not like, oh, 1996, 1997, which was Hale-Bopp's time that it went by Earth, but more like I do not want to set this particular film at a time when everybody's holding devices and can just Snapchat each other their reactions to stuff because you can totally do it. In fact, I think I wrote a version of it that was present day and like the bully girl was Snapchatting in class or whatever. Um, I don't know. It just didn't seem right. I did another film previous to this, which is visible worldwide. I always forget to say this. So, really quickly, my film previous to this is Goodbye Petrushka, which I will awkwardly write in the comments. It is probably viewable for free somewhere, everywhere in the world by now.
I've seen that in Hulu. Goodbye,
Yeah,
Patricia.
Hulu and Tubi and YouTube Movies and Prime. I don't know if Prime is worldwide. I don't understand how the distributor deals work. But anyway, the thing about that movie is that it worked totally well to set it in the present day. Um, but this one just felt like it kind of needed to be set in amber. Like we're not
Hmm.
time because if she's got a phone, to tell her friend her feelings, if her friend has a phone to react to the feelings back, um, we don't see in real time, how people are feeling. And a lot of this movie is people reacting to each other. Like I look back at it now, I don't see it so much now, but when I look back at it after the fact, I'm like, like 85% of this is just people like silently reacting to each other.
Yes.
Really can't happen if they've got iPads and iPhones and stuff.
Yes. That's what it made me felt when you mentioned that it kind of feel right to set it on the era where we are not doing mobile devices. It's because I think during those eras, I, like Maggie, was not diagnosed. I was navigating through adolescence. I was navigating preteens, that knowing that there's something within me and then sharing it to someone like a best friend and like, wait, like her sister was even asking, so what's my color? And then you vaguely share it because there's a lot of hesitations and there are a lot of, even I rose my eyebrow on this. But at the end of it, there was kind of like, if you're a millennial, if you're a senial, or if you are one of those who were born between 1980s to 1995, 1996,
Yeah.
1997, you and you exhibit neurodivergent traits within you, for example, the condition that we're going to talk about, you definitely can resonate of the feeling of being misfit, of being, I don't feel like, is this something that I can share? Even like I told you not to share it because you don't have a name yet.
I'm so sorry. Say that last thing again.
We don't have a label or we don't have a name yet.
Right. That's another really good point that I didn't even I did think about it, but not like overtly. I mean, now something that I'm in is, which is that, thank you, which is that, if Maggie were Gen Z or later, but the fact that she would be, I guess she'd be an older millennial.
Mhm.
I
She's younger,
yeah,
she's younger millennial. Yeah, she's older millennial because she turned a teenager during.
84-ish, 1983, 84, sorry, 83, 84, 85, somewhere in there. Anyway, point is, um, Gen Z or later, it depends who you ended up with as your support network, but because we
Mm.
were having terminology, we did and yes, maybe overdiagnosing started happening in some cases. Yes, that's totally possible. And, perhaps there were cases where people were misunderstood in the wrong direction because they can't speak for everything. But I think, my hope is that people would have, after a certain point, said, oh, this child may be neurodivergent, and that she would have sort of inherently known it's okay to tell people about this.
Mhm.
Is that her parents themselves, especially her father, are so weird that it's like, why could you not tell him about this? But she doesn't. She wants to, but we see hints that he knows anyway. Not that he knows what it is, but that he knows that there's something and that it's fine. And
That
yeah,
that is exactly where I felt like it was a brain hog because my parents were not able to name what I felt, to the point that they have given me to my grandma, my abuela. And my grandma said, I know that you're one of a kind, but that's not a wrong kind of one of a kind. But my parents, because um I don't know, parents during those times, they're trying their best to parent us, the way that they know, with all the information that they could only had during those times. I don't blame my parents now of how they treated me. But it was my grandma who actually said, I know from the beginning that there is something one of a kind of you, but I'm not gonna call it as a negative thing. And it is okay if you smell things. It is okay. So I was really feeling safe. I would say that my grandma was my safe person, but also just like Maggie's dad, there's a lot of hesitation. Number one, also give me a break. I was a teenager.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like a
All
preteen.
unless they're committing actual acts of violence, they're good.
Right, right. And so when I move to the second question,
Or if they're bullies, they don't get a break. But please go on.
the film follows Maggie as she sees the world differently with her trait called synesthesia. So first things first, I would like to request you if you can explain what synesthesia is in a brief definition, and also what drew you to that condition. Why synesthesia? Why did you focus on synesthesia, and how did you decide that it would look and feel on screen?
This is a really terrific and kind of multi-answerable question. So different parts here. So synesthesia was sort of something that had always been in the back of my mind as like, oh, here's this thing that's interesting to me. Um, as far as, I hadn't really planned to necessarily make a film about it, but I had made this plan. And filmmakers out there, this is a terrible business plan to make a film about a child. Do not do that. Unless something terrible is happening, it is a terrible commercial decision. People will look at a poster with a child on it and say, it's for babies. They're wrong. And I just want to get that out of the way. But I wanted to make a film about a child, for better or worse. And I wanted to make a film about a child with either an extraordinary ability or a difference of some kind. And that was it was pretty vague, right? That was pretty much all that I had. Um, and then through a conversation with a friend of mine, we ended up sort of talking about synesthesia. And I was like, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Isn't that thing where like you see numbers as blue, or like I had a vague idea of what it was. But the thing about it is that it's so inherently cinematic. And
Mm.
I had watched, oh man, I have talked about this film so much. We were doing our press right now, so I've just mentioned this film like 20 times. I had watched this movie called Confetti by the director Anne Hu, and I'm typing it in the comments. I don't know where it's available, but she's Chinese, and the movie is about a woman who moves with her daughter who has dyslexia. um, they moved from China to the United States for her education. And the way that this director and her cinematographer and her VFX team managed to portray, uh, I almost said synesthesia, but no, dyslexia. I said dyslexia before, right? It's not
Yes,
synesthesia.
you did.
Yeah, cool.
You said the dyslexia. Yeah.
I have no memory. That's my other neurodivergent trait. But anyway, I'm not kidding. But anyway, yes. So in this movie, it's dyslexia, and I was fascinated by the way there would be these point of view shots where the little girl would be reading. I don't remember if it was Chinese or English, but the letter or character would like turn around and do this and go upside down. And you'd realize, oh, yeah, okay, we're in her head now. We're seeing it literally in her head. We're seeing it from her point of view. That's not a new trick. That's not like a new thing, but it was so very simple and very, very powerfully done in this movie. And I remember thinking, okay, I have to figure out how to, I'm going to do the synesthesia movie. Then synesthesia, which is so often visual and auditory, that's cinema. I have to figure out how to put this on screen. Now, I am not the first person to write a movie or make a film or TV series or something incorporating synesthesia, but this is definitely the first family film that has synesthesia at its center. And it's one of the very
Yes.
first, which makes me
Yes.
think there's Musica, there's others, but that's after us, actually, slightly. Slightly. They were in development before us, they released after. Anyway, they certainly don't care. But point is, they haven't actually. Anyway, point is, I'm amazed that it's not something that's been more commonly treated because you could use this in like murder mysteries, neurodivergent folks like Sherlock solving things on TV. You could use this. Oh gosh, I think there was a TV series in Canada, and I have no real concrete memory of what I'm talking about, but I think it involved a pianist, I want to say during World War II, who had synesthesia, like chromesthesia, where, you see the colors of music or,
Yeah.
or tones.
Well, one thing that remind me is House MD, but it was more about the musical person who is not synesthesia as well, but he
No.
was high. It was. I've never seen, as I've mentioned earlier in the introduction, that I've never had any movie that focus on synesthesia, focus as a family oriented movie that talks about synesthesia with the main character navigating teenage and adolescent life and moving on and having all of those traits. um, and so I find the visuals of how you portray Maggie seeing colors, especially when how Maggie's first art class with the teacher, Professor Dreeing, Dreeing,
Oh,
Dreeing,
Deering.
Deering,
That's
Deering.
the
um and to be able to how that you guys, you have to watch the movie because I can't keep on spilling the beans, but the
okay.
experience that she had on the first art class and the second art class session is something that most or it brings you to your own memory. It's not entirely the same, but the feeling that you have, even the responses of Maggie, I would do that. I would like, of course I would do that. I will exactly do what Maggie did. um
Really
of
nice.
course I will do that.
You never know.
Yeah, but to other folks I will be like, why did you do that? And then the question is like, are you okay? And the same scenario can happen in a typical high school or grade school class. The same question will be asked, are you okay? They have no idea what's running in Maggie's brain or Maggie's mind. So that's just going to the third question in sensory experience.
Yeah.
There's a lot of softness in how Maggie's weirdness is shown. I noticed that there's a lot of softness.
That
And
was a yeah.
today my permission slip was your softness is not a weakness.
Hmm. I
It's
like
a power. Um was it important for you as a director to show the neurodivergent and the softness of Maggie without labels or diagnosis?
Yeah, I really didn't want the word synesthesia even to be said until I don't think we hear it until 75% of the movie. And when we
No.
do, it's from Miss Deering, her art teacher, who played by Deb McGrath, who plays this wonderfully empathetic character who
So
probably
nice.
a nice character. And she probably, is aware of everything going on with every teenager in that room. She picks up on this as she
Mhm.
has to do her own research because the terminology is not there and obvious. Again, we're not 20 years later when, yeah, even 20 years later, that wasn't like right at the tip of everybody's fingers. But, we're getting closer to that point where you would say, well, maybe she's on the spectrum. Maybe I don't know. Um, I don't know though, because people have introduced kids to me in their group as being on the spectrum. It's like this kid just seems really smart, but you don't know until you see what they're doing and like, do they stim? Do they, there's,
Yeah.
get in.
What I resonate with Miss Deering is as a play school teacher, especially in kindergarten. Not even in kindergarten. So I ran a play school in Malaysia for 2 years, where parents will drop their kids. I was called in Germany it's called Tagesmutter, or daycare mom.
Mhm.
So I would be helping the kids and guiding the kids how to do potty training, how to do all of those things before they enter kindergarten, because there are some schools in Malaysia where they are not allowed to enroll their kids in kindergarten if they are not potty trained and stuff like that. And I believe in the power of following the child, which is Montessori, but also more than that, I it's more about my tribal intuition and instinct as how as I grew up in Philippines, as so to say. um I don't have the rule book, so to say, if I'm going to
Yes.
be to be upfront here. um like how Miss Deering show empathy to to Maggie is such an amazing thing, because um it definitely helped Maggie to be able to not feel safe yet, but to be able to, like, okay, let me navigate it on my own. Let
Caught,
me
but yeah.
Yes. So that's, I think, also as a person, and also if we are a parent or we have family members who are, we are waiting for diagnosis, or we don't want to have diagnosis, and we kind of know that they're something special or they're one of a kind on their own way of processing or wired differently, is to be able to, like, let them have their own space, but also hold that space for them in
Yeah,
moments that we can't.
exactly.
I
Because
think that's what
heavy
Miss
mental ourselves, we're exhausted
yeah. and,
mentally,
and
all there. And I don't mean you. I mean, I will say that for myself. I'm not all there, but yes.
you can speak for the both of us. But also, there's nothing to fix. It's just a space for us to let us, let them and let me, and we're going to hold the space. And it's okay to say, "Well, we actually don't know, but we're gonna figure it out. We're gonna rally with you, we're gonna walk with you." And I think that's what is missing. I think that's where I'm coming from, where the sense of clarity, and we're already trying to navigate our sense of identity and self discovery, and then, like, what now? I think the what now is where we are all stuck. But then this is where
Tell me about it.
Maggie whispered to me, "My softness is not a weakness," and that's my permission slip for all of you today tuning in. Your softness, my softness, our softness in moments is not a weakness. And our neurodivergence is not something that needs to be fixed, needs to be aligned. We can thrive in this world. We just need space. We just need someone to help us space when there are moments that we don't know how. I guess that's
Mhm.
was what I wanted to say. So the next one is, there's a lot of neurodivergent folks right now who will see this movie Magnetosphere tomorrow or the next couple of days to come. Not just the synesthesia, but also there are other sensory and experiences that neurodivergent can feel. Say, for example, sensitivity, overstimulation, creativity, even RSD or rejection sensitivity dysphoria. I have seen that. I have seen hyper focused. I have seen those things. I even saw some stimming, but I'm not going to say anything. And I saw some signs of autism. I'm not going to say anyone, but
No, there is.
there's there is. Um, if you've watched, I've watched it for the like 4 times now, so I have been
But
able to like recognize.
I'm just kidding.
So was that intentional to show neurodivergent exists in many forms, not just with the lead actor Maggie? Was it intentional?
Yes and no. I didn't necessarily know all of where it was going to come out, but I knew that it was going to because I know who some of these actors are and, sort of what fuels what they do. Patrick McKenna, who plays the dad, who has spoken about this many, many times, has ADHD, and that was 100% the motor of that character. Um, who Again, not to spoil. I don't think any of this is spoilers because it really is just a story about a girl growing up and figuring out how she's going to grow up with this thing that other people don't have. Um, Her dad is trying to direct this absolutely chaotic, ramshackle, like local amateur theater production of Pirates of Penzance, and he kind of goes insane while he's doing it. He also does his best to be a good dad, always be there for his kids, but he's just completely distracted to the point that he basically just loses his mind. I don't think that's
Yes.
a thing to say. I think that's what it is. And there is so much neurodiversity going on just within that one character.
Yes, yes. I'm just smiling about it, and I'm like, tell me more. And sometimes I have to pause, and then I have to watch the dad, um, how he responds, and I will be like having a sense of nodding, like, yeah,
Yeah.
okay, like that's understandable. And so I love that even if it was both intentional and not intentional, those characters, like even those characters itself who have this diagnosis, um, this is what I also said last night. It is such a beauty to work with someone who has who has a neurodivergent brain as yours. It works. It hits differently.
I
I think that's what I wanted to say. Um,
know. And it's like, oh, there's kind of a lot that doesn't need to be explained here. I mean, I don't. I need to say for the folks at home, and I'm definitely used to talking about it. So not a problem. But I am adding here the link to our trailer. There we go. I'm
yes.
adding that in the comments. So, as said, the movie will not actually be viewable until tomorrow, July 22nd, but the trailer is viewable now if people want to get a sense. I think our trailer, which was done by an excellent trailer editor, Katrina Boletta in Canada, I think the trailer leans very, very hard into the sort of growing up, gentle, pink sparkles aspect of the film, which that was a choice that we all made. That was, that was on purpose. But I like to think that it also shows that this is not just a movie for children. This is not just a movie for little girls. Like far
Yeah.
from it. There's a lot going on here that's actually very uncomfortable, and there's a lot going on here that is for families and adults. And I can't tell you how many people, especially now that we're doing press, how many people have come up to me over the past days and said some version of, I am an adult male. I thought I would hate this film. I really like this film. Like, hey man, you are.
That's a thumbs up with me as well. And I like when you touch base about like, of course you chose the color, you chose pink, you chose the
A lot of
fonts, but there's a lot of characters and word building that's happening even on the trailer hints as well. Like from the trailer, if you're going to watch it now, there will be you will be seeing a lot of chaos of a teenager from school, from family, having her first love, and even a theater production that she didn't sign up for.
oh, yeah, on, you're gonna.
Um, my question to you, Nicola, would be, while you were directing this film, how did you balance all of that while keeping the story grounded to Maggie's inner world and still consistently being grounded on her brain?
Well, it comes back to the same thing we were talking about earlier, which is basically that if you're a director, you're talking about when I was actually like on set with these actors and these folks directing the film, which is a very different period than the 2 years prior where you're sort of vaguely working on it, maybe writing it more intensively like later. But my point is, you basically comes back to something that some of us may have heard me say earlier, which is that when you're a director or a writer, you kind of have to, if you're doing your job right, inhabit every single character that there is. So like if it's Maggie having some sort of neurodivergent experience, even if it's not one that I personally have had. And again, they are all on a synesthetic experience that somebody who is alive and who can tell about the experience definitely had. They're all on based on primary sources. I may have changed details. I did not make stuff up. Um, there are actual synesthetes who've come up to me and been like, "Well, I don't experience synesthesia like that. Like, why did you put that in?" I'm like, "Well, dude, because literally no people experience, two people experience." Anyway,
Yes.
because like what you're talking about with tasting blue, other people don't like gustatory synesthesia. That's
That's a gustatory. That's something to do with my taste and how it's connected with my visual. And for longest time, I never spoke about it, and never nobody learned or nobody understand why I hated blue when I was in third grade and fourth, especially when I moved from homeschool going back to the public school. When I was introduced to public school, I was like,
yeah.
nope, not gonna wear that blue uniform. I'm not. I'm gonna vomit. And I'm like, why, you're just so picky and stuff like that. And I would, I would tear everything. And uh, it's and then you will be labeled as a difficult child or stuff like that. But I was not making story up. Of course I was having, did I had rather a rebellious character or a tendency to rebel? Yes. Because how the heck will I tell you, and would you
How do you
even believe me?
survive? Don't
Yeah. Would you even believe me if I say I don't like blue, actually, especially the one that this kind of blue, because it makes me vomit because it tastes bitter? I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? You know?
basically admit her. Yes, exactly. I had a thing where I was not comfortable. I was very comfortable performing, but I was never. This is not something that you really should do, but I was not comfortable performing unless I could do like a character voice. I didn't want to perform with my own voice. And
Oh, interesting.
I don't know that this is a neurodivergence, but I would, as somebody said the other day to me, bet a steak dinner on it. Um, I really wasn't comfortable unless I could change my accent, which I'm really good at, or I could, which by the way is also a spectrumy thing. Apparently, I'm not shocked. Anyway, unless I could like speak in an English accent or like sing in a character voice or whatever, I was really never comfortable. I think I was very effective. Yeah, and we're talking about a little girl. I was not a professional performer at any point. Oh, later. But anyway, point is, I've left all that behind now. But at the time, it was the same sort of, the right thing I think would have been to get a really good psychologist in on the case and say, like, why are you so uncomfortable with yourself that you cannot be yourself unless you're masking? It was
Yes.
masking.
I
Uh,
want I want to touch base, and I want to say, yep, that's masking. That's
uh,
masking.
it's like in the movie. I'm getting way off track from the movie. I don't mean to because this is part of press, but that is the thing: is that um, the weirder you inherently know you are, the more you try to mask that. But I was just making it worse in a way, making it harder for myself.
it's
Anyway,
it's it's so beautiful that as we share about the trailer hints and how you see it, I love that even on the trail itself we can see how you've balanced and stay on letting us see a little bit of the lead character's brain and how she processes things. And now I wanted to talk about the word quirky.
you
um
I've heard.
each character feels quirky in a very specific way.
What? I'm just kidding. Please continue.
So was that part of building a world where everyone's uniqueness belongs, or was it like because to me it felt like a revelation of one book to the other. It's like flipping a page of the book. That's how I feel. And the more I looked on a bigger picture, the more I sense that each one of them are so different that they're all similarly neurodivergent, but because they're all similarly having quirkiness, they're also the same in how would they think, or how of course that character will do that. So that's how it made me feel when I watched it. And I tell you guys, I've watched this movie for 4 times. The first time Nicola sent to me the link, I watched it. I binge watched it. I didn't share it to anybody. I was so excited about it. And then I have to watch it for the second and the third time to understand the other aspects and factors, specifically the external factors. Because the first time I watched it, it was just like I'm boiling something inside of me. Something was turning on. Like some of the things were like yeah, I can resonate with that. So the second and the third time that I've watched it is more about looking on the external place where the lead actor was. So that's just what I felt. And also, to give a little bit context out of that, not everyone who can identify themselves as neurodivergent or has some synesthesia or dyslexia would have this kind of environment, so to say. um I'm just gonna leave you at that.
I think that you gave me plenty of. My mind went to so many places as you were talking because I thought, well, what about this? What about that? But it all comes down to casting because I think the different kinds of quirkiness or strangeness or whatever you want to call it that come up in this movie, they would be so different if you had different actors inhabiting the roles, and that's kind
Mhm.
of that I tried to cast it not like so people would be weird or whatever, but so that um just so that people would feel all the people would feel right together. It would feel like the
Mhm.
right mix of people.
Mhm. Yes, it is so true. That it was the characters who were doing those roles really brought it, and it made me smile when I saw those. Can I mention the name can I mention Steven's name?
These names.
Yeah. So I was surprised when I saw Steven. I was on the trailer. You would see Steven. Huh.
Yeah. I think he says he.
Yeah, Stephen He, a Canadian actor, and also another character
He's
that.
I guess I should say he's actually Irish and Chinese.
But he's from he's located in Canada.
And go ahead.
Is Stephen located in Canada or no?
No, he ended up like I knew him and my one of my producers knew him before.
Oh,
We just had him join, like asked him, would you join to do this movie?
oh yeah, okay. So
So he ended up.
um
Uh,
I stand corrected on that. So I was surprised when I saw Steven because I was familiar of one of his skit and one of his prior projects, but also the way he portrayed the supporting one of the characters, Maggie, is something that reminds me of my first love as well.
Hopefully, it's like a memory for everybody, or hopefully, it doesn't feel like a memory for everybody. I don't.
But also I love when you say that there is when you actually think of the casting as a filmmaker and a director, it brings about a lot of good results, I guess, because
Mhm.
it's different for me as a viewer. Okay, so with regards to connection and community, before we lose track and my thought process is gone, I want to ask you about your message to what message do you hope your viewers, both neurodivergent teenagers, parents, caregivers, or family members, loved ones, to take away from this movie Magneto? What's your message, Nicola?
The message that I always say to everybody is that it, basically you should be kind to people. You should be kind to people if they seem to be different from you. You should be kind to people if they seem to be the same as you. Just be kind to people. Yes, there are instances where something has been done such that being kind is not of the essence, but I can think of so few cases where being kind is not the answer.
Hmm.
Just be kind
Hmm.
to people. It is just not that hard.
Yes, I say that most of the time to myself first, that it cost me $0 to be compassionate to myself first and then to others.
Yeah.
Because if I'm so sorry for that. If something happened, if
Okay.
I'm not compassionate to myself, I won't be able to show it to others as well. And it just be kind. If someone is not able to show compassion to you, it has nothing to do with you, but it's out of your control. But what can you do? What can you control? Um, with regards to kindness and compassion, are there any neurodivergent folks who had reached out to you? I mean, apart from me, who has been like rooting for this movie, um,
I think pretty much
this
everybody who is rooting for this movie has been neurodivergent. No, I don't want to say that. There's so many people who might
there's
be.
so many people who's so intrigued and curious about this movie, but personally, for me, I've shared my live yesterday. Like, I've recorded myself after watching the fourth movie. It was like a closing of the cycle of rewatching it, and I'm like, yep, I'm ready to create my review article for Magnetosphere. But first, I need to walk in the field, and I need to soak in some quietness. And I really just walked in the field yesterday, and I was just talking to myself and telling myself, man, 35 years of living, you just found out that you have this diagnosis at 33. That was 2 years ago. You You're one of a kind. Like, you're amazing. There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with you. And I was just saying lots of words of gratitude to my inner self, to my inner child, and a lot of things that I've said that I never ever have I imagined would say if I did not watch Magnetosphere. Thank you for that.
That
Thank
is
you for
huge.
the space,
Thank you.
because it brought me to a call to action to have my to have a personal choice of self-compassion. Sometimes, or most of the time, as neurodivergent, we are the first and number one critic of our own self.
We are.
And it's not easy. It's easy for us to see the good to others, but how come it is so difficult for us to believe the goodness in us? And so, after watching it for the fourth time yesterday, it was like a full end cycle. I said to myself, I'm ready to write the write up article and my movie review for Magnetosphere. But first, I want to walk in the field. I want to go back to nature. I want to co regulate myself and do the thing that I have been longing for a long time. And I think every one of you guys should watch it and come back to nature. Listen to music. Listen to music. See what you can see, or like notice what you can feel, what you can see, what you can hear, what you can notice the small things that you've never noticed. I think that's what I wanted to say. And on the creative heart, which is we're almost on the last part of the question and answer, how did you approach the challenge of turning an internal condition or sensory condition like synesthesia into something emotional on the screen and
You,
visuals?
something emotional. We already covered turning it into something visual, which is basically like you make a design, you
Yeah,
hand your VFX team and animation team, and you hope they'll run with it and make it better than what you created. But in terms of the
emotional.
content, the credit for all of that, and I mean all of that, is due to Shaylin, who played Maggie, and to the other actors, because all of them are nearly everybody
Yeah.
is heart of this movie. They're unless they come in for a scene just to give information or unless they bully her, those are really the only people who aren't at the heart of this movie. All of the emotion is from them. I
Yes.
take credit for that.
I really want to take this time as well to thank all the actors who took and take those roles um, that make this magnetosphere a sensory rich and also emotional. It's not a roller coaster. It's like it's not even a merry-go-round. If I'm going to use my analogy, it's like you're riding on a bike
Yes.
and you're having your pedal on. Everything is on balance. At first, you're like confused and curious, but watching Magnetosphere for me is like having those pedals working and knowing that I am in control and I am on the wheel. I lead the bicycle and I get to go where I needed to go. And that's just what made me feel. It made me feel light. It made me feel heard, seen, and most especially, it made me felt held. And me first. What was my favorite moment to the film? That one that made me say, yes, this is it. Um, well, it was. Uh, I'm not sure if I'm able to share.
I kind of
I'm just. I'm just gonna say. I'm just gonna say toilet. I'm just gonna
Oh
say
yeah.
toilet. That's my favorite scene.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, the
but for
toilet is
you,
just for everything emotional and you know
but for
important.
you, what's I'm not going to say emotional. People will be like, "Oh, okay." I was really having a. I was cracking my head. Okay, what was my? All of them was my favorite film because it was so real. It was so validating. But well, the toilet. You better watch it. You better watch the movie. Why I said toilet.
It's nothing gross. It's something important. Yeah. You just need to see,
Yes.
the movie, which again is going to be out tomorrow. Just in case people are like me and can't deal with grossness, I should mention that there is nothing actually in this toilet. It is a clean. It is actually a toilet. And now I will stop spoiling the toilet.
No, no, don't say anything. But for you, is there any particular favorite moment that you can share and not spoil?
Yeah, sure. I think the moment when Maggie sees her first love for the first time, because it always makes me laugh, even if I didn't necessarily intend it to be funny. It is kind of funny to me.
It
And
is. It is.
there are a lot of things that happen just the way they're supposed to. I feel like that happens on just musical beat that it's supposed to, and it's a happy moment for me.
Amazing. It is a family oriented movie. It is not only a pre-teens movie. It's not just a child movie. It is something that you. It is worth. It is not just a movie. At some point in our life, it is somebody else's life. It is real. It is validating, and like what I said, it made me felt seen, heard, and held. Just for fun, if Maggie's synesthesia had a flavor, what would it taste like? Me first.
Yeah, go first. Give me time.
Um, Me first. It will be eating. It would be eating a gum, a gummy flavored ice cream on top of vanilla ice cream, and then there will be a lot of sprinkles, but it looks like a spaghetti.
Oh, interesting. So it's kind of a mess.
Yeah,
Lit-
but it's so tasty.
Yeah, it's still tasty, but it's a little bit chaotic.
Yeah, and you can't stop eating more. So it's like
Yeah,
that.
you can't really ever finish entirely with this. I think it would be different tastes at different times. I think that's the thing. It would be kind of like if people are familiar with the every flavor beans in Harry Potter. I think it's like that. It's like the every flavor the every flavor beans where there's beans that are like normal things like chocolate and strawberry and this, but there's also like there's an earwax bean at some point in the book. There's
Yes.
earwax. There's disgusting things. There's like, is there a booger flavored one? There's it's like, it's and you might get any of those. And so I think sometimes you have synesthesia with Maggie, with people who are like Maggie. I think you have sometimes synesthesia that tastes like cotton candy, and then other times it would be like bitter kale and like, but your mouth is full of bitter kale. And it's like, where did this come
Yeah.
from?
Yeah. And then some things like after you swallow that flavor of kale, something like there's a beetroot left behind. Like where
Oh,
did it come from? Yeah.
it's not going anywhere for a while.
It was
I-
such a
But like the memory is there.
the memory is there, but it is true in our in most of us, in our community, where our brain is not able to recognize and process and connect those thoughts. Sometimes it looks like it's a memory, but actually it happened in the past. And so our body, our senses are able to recognize it, and there's also part of our brain that says this is danger, so abort and just don't do nothing. There's fight or flight. And so, guys, this Magnetosphere, it is not just a teenage movie. I'm telling you, there's a lot of things that you would understand more about yourself if you're a parent of a teenager who's showing this
Those are
attributes. You would see this, and probably you might also scratch your head and see, I was like that when I was growing up,
wanted it to feel like a memory. There was a thing Greta Gerwig said about when she directed Lady Bird that she was talking not just about the fact that it's set roughly the same time as this film, it's a little later, but the grain of the film that she used, or her cinematographer used, she was saying she wanted it to feel like a memory. And
Mhm.
we didn't use that particular grain or anything like that. It's shot on digital, but the whole thing is wanting the whole thing to feel like a memory. Whether, and I think you evoked that idea yourself earlier. It's
Yeah.
like whether you actually had this experience, which you probably haven't because it's awfully specific.
Mhm. Mhm.
Had a run in with Gilbert and Sullivan when I was 13, but we shall not talk about that today. It's point is you want to feel as though, and that's why it's so nice to me when we have like people that are not like Maggie at all, like neurotypical older men or something that come up and are like, oh my God, this just like this. And I'm going to mention it again for those who weren't here earlier because it seems amazingly like nobody has left, which must mean you and I are interesting. Great. Um, the previous feature I did, which is a tiny, tiny, tiny little indie feature done on no money but made very well, I think, called Goodbye
Goodbye,
Petrushka.
Patricia.
Yeah, and so many people. I just made up a story about a girl who was having a really messy time becoming an adult, and I mean literally becoming an adult because she's 19. She's like going through like first, loss of virginity and other stuff. Would have no place in Magnetosphere. This is an older kid who's on her own doing. She's barely a kid. Um, and the number of people I had come up to me and say, "You finally made a film about an autistic person. I finally see myself." The word autistic, autistic, autistic got sent to me, and in a positive way, never in an insulting way. So many times. The only thing is, I was like, I
Must
honestly,
have done something right.
I did realize, but I wasn't trying to.
Yes, yes,
Like,
yes.
to me, she was a little obsessive. She basically, it was just like she was 19, but she was the kind of idealistic, probably sheltered 19 who, you know, basically probably went from, being a couple years out of university, sorry, a couple years in university to suddenly going to she like impulsively quits college and withdraws her whatever money her parents have given her and decides to go live in Europe. And she fails at literally everything. And
All over the place.
was that
All over the place.
all over the place. And people have said, this is a very, very cringy film, which, yeah, it is. Like, they are both about teenagers growing up and they're both neurodivergent. What do you want? It's not going to be clean and simple. And that loss of virginity is not going to be any good. um, so,
I
but
know.
that is not the movie I am promoting.
So going back to the movie that Nicola is promoting, and I've watched 4 times, is Magnetosphere.
You've
Um,
watched it more times than I have.
um, I just wanted to say that it has come to an end. Nicola has answered all of the questions that I have here. Thank you, Nicola, for monitoring the comment section and for responding
I was
right
not
away.
think I got basically if you are in Canada, if you are in the US, if you are in Mexico, as far as I know, you will be able to see this film streaming on kind of all the major platforms tomorrow. If you are in other um,
Country.
countries, other countries, other regions of the world, I was going to say, please email me. And I'm going to put my email in the thingy once more, and just say I want to be on your mailing list. You are not going to get much mail from me. I don't like email, but you will get updates when the movie like goes to the UK and when the movie goes to Europe and when the movie
Goes
just
to Australia or in other parts of the world.
well, the thing is, the more notice that we get that there's demand in other parts of the world. I live in Australia. Why can't I see this? I live in, the most one I've heard is France because I have a network of people there. But to heck with my network. The point is, if you're in any place that is not North America, just send me a quick email. Say, hey, I want to be on your mailing list, and then all of that ultimately will be sent to the folks that handle our distributor. I do not personally. I wish I did. I have no control over where it goes. But Rhalyn, I can't thank you enough for helping me with the promo, and this was a lot of fun to do. And if anybody has any do you do this? Like, if anybody has any last minute questions, speak now or forever hold your peace because I gotta go.
Yes. And before, if you're typing your comments on everything, but first, let me say thank you, everyone, so much for joining in, for tuning in with me and Nicola, and to everyone. This was such a pleasure to speak. And if you're going to if you're going to watch this on a replay, I hope that you can still drop your comments, and also we're going to create, or we're going to have another live question and answer on Instagram. So this is in Substack, and we're gonna have another one in Instagram. It's gonna be the same, but we're going to different questions, because that's gonna be after the release. But also we're going to talk about a lot of things that's related to the movie and also related to sensory storytelling, but also to all of for Nicola and for everyone, I thank you for holding space and for making space for all the sensory storytelling. Your story is sacred. Thank you for giving, for ever be so kind of making, or of letting me picking up your brain. And this is such a wonderful experience. It's my first time to interview a director and a filmmaker, and you did not disappoint, girl. um, and I hope that there will be a lot of things that's going to happen in the future. But also, don't forget to watch Magnetosphere out tomorrow if you're in North America, and if you are in Mexico and in Canada. I'll be posting my full review soon. But please, Nicola, for the last time, the floor is yours before we close to promote Magnetosphere to all of our listeners and for all of those tuning in.
I would say the one thing that I did forget to say is a good place to follow us for kind of up to the minute news, especially this week as things get released, which is all going to be kind of the one big drop tomorrow. And then press is going to come out and stuff is going to come out. And there's going to be videos of me interviewing each of the actors. And I've just put awkwardly in the chat. Magnetosphere movie on Instagram would be the place to follow. So please follow that. The mailing list is really helpful too, because again, that helps us say, hey, people want to see it in New Zealand. Hey, people want to see it in Africa, whatever. And then, the Instagram will tell you everything about the drop, and adventures of Magnetosphere as we go forward.
Is your Instagram holder Nicola Directs?
That's me. But I think I'm mentioned in the bio of the
Of
Magnet.
the Yeah. So if there is anyone, please reach out to Nicola, and thank you for staying
No,
with us. And this has been a nice time with you, Nicola. I know that you're a busy woman. I know that as the launch and the release is coming in, your time is valuable. So thank you, and I hope
you.
to speak to you, everyone. Thank you, and you have a good day.
Thank,
Goodbye.
bye everybody. Bye, Rhalyn. Thank you.
Bye. Most
Take
welcome. My pleasure.